All right, so let's try and find out what is happening in Tshwane. A week after the resignation of Randall Williams, the capital has no mayor, and it seems no mayoral committee now. Calls are mounting for urgent intervention. The Tshwane City Council met earlier today to try and iron matters out. Williams resigned following adverse findings by the auditor-general's office. eNCA's Pule Letshwiti-Jones following developments. Joining me now. So, Pule, I know that you spoke to the Speaker of the Tshwane Council, Murunwa Makwarela. Before we chat, let's listen to what he says because of this two resignation letters. The first one, the immediate resignation of Randall Williams, followed by a resignation that kicks in at the end of the month, and why they've decided to go with the first one. Let's take a listen.
I requested the office of the city manager of our city, Tshwane, to provide me with an external legal opinion on the two resignation letters as mentioned earlier. Yesterday, the 20th of February 2023, my office was furnished with a formal signed legal opinion which confirmed that the initial resignation of the executive mayor, which was tendered on the 13th of February 2023, was valid, and thus the resignation took effect on the midnight of the same day, and that the amendment of date was unlawful and has no force and effect. It is therefore against this backdrop that the scheduled ordinary council meeting of Thursday, 23rd February 2023 will be postponed.
All right, so that, Pule, tells us that the first resignation letter is the one legally that is in force, which essentially means that Tshwane currently has no mayor, no mayoral committee. In essence, the EFF is correct when it said that the first letter was the one that should stand. But we've just heard the Speaker saying that a meeting for the 23rd has been postponed. So with no mayor, no mayoral committee, and no specific date of when they're getting a new mayor, what happens now, and crucially, who's in the running to become the new mayor?
Essentially what this means is that the city manager then has to administer the affairs of the metro as well. In council, the Speaker will preside over the affairs of council and also facilitate the process of ensuring that the rightful mayor is elected, similar to what we saw in the city of Johannesburg when Colleen Makubela came in and she oversaw the ceremony where a mayor was then elected. But we now know that there were actually 5 names that were brought forward or thrown into the hat before the multi-party coalition, in a statement, by the way, which they have released, said that they would throw their weight behind the DA Member of Parliament, Celia Brinks. But the 5 names, of course, were the former Speaker of Tshwane, Matebe. We also had Kingsley Wakeling. We also had Jackie Ace, who's of course the councillor representing the DA as well. We had, of course, Mr. Celia Brinks as well in the run-up to that. And we had the former the MMC of Finance, former MMC of Finance, Peter Sutton. You'd remember when the mayor initially resigned and decided to serve his notice, he had actually said there will be an acting mayor, who was then Peter Sutton, the MMC of Finance. But now we've seen the statement where the multi-party coalition says that the leadership of all political parties in the coalition, the collective of which consulting a majority in council, resolved to support Brink's election.
So all right, that's interesting. So Celia's Brink is getting the vote of the entire coalition. It doesn't look like there's going to be any conflict. Do we know when that vote's going to go ahead?
Well, for now we don't know, but what we understand currently is that now that the Speaker is actually going to put into force the legal opinion of the resignation letter by the former mayor from the 13th of February, it then tells us that council has 7 days now, because initially when a mayor resigns, immediately you have 14 days to convene council and elect a new mayor, but now they have 7 days and they're running out of time.
7 days left,
7 days left. So this is what they have to prioritize most importantly, because crucially so, they also have to pass the adjustment budget, which speaks to service delivery. I think that has to be done before the end of the month. So there really isn't enough time here. But what we're also getting is that the multi-party coalition government, especially some members from the DA, are upset with how the Speaker of Council, Dr. Muruna Makwarela, convened, or rather oversaw the resignation process of Randall Williams, to a point where some from the DA are saying that they will be fielding a motion of no confidence against the Speaker. But when you look at the dynamics of the politics in Tshwane, there's also been rumours that the Speaker has been trying to gun and get the support of parties such as the ANC and the EFF, and he's also rumoured to be, likely running for the mayoral position in the city of Tshwane.
The Speaker?
Yes, the Speaker.
From which party is he?
He's from COPE.
So the Speaker from COPE may well be trying to also make a running to become mayor. Talk to me a little bit about the ANC and the opposition parties, because we've seen moves between the ANC and the EFF getting closer together. Is it fairly obvious, fairly clear that Cilliers Brink is likely to be elected with the support of the coalition? Or could we see some other interesting moves in the next 7 days?
Look, it's going to be drama galore come the next council session. In fact, when we asked the Speaker about if he would be available to run up for the mayor position, he said, look, he wants to be a speaker. He's not entertaining the politics. But, there's always those dynamics you get on the ground as well. And as far as we understand right now, the multi-party coalition government says it's quite strong, it's solid. And that if that's the case, Sally, it means no one then can go against the candidate they will field, because the numbers there are in support of the DA. EFF and ANC coming together will need the support of other minority parties as well to ensure that they can unseat the multi-party coalition government from position. However, the technicality could also come in if there's a secret ballot, where we understand that usually when that happens, you find that there are other party members who may dishonor the multi-party coalition government agreement and vote ANC and EFF, because the ANC has been quite confident in the city of Tshwane that they're working with other smaller parties and other members from other parties to try and field in their preferred mayoral candidates.
All right. Well, let's listen to the Tshwane ANC secretary now.
The first letter is the letter that is legally binding, is the letter that is recognized by law. So that's where we are. Peter Sutton would have proceeded, held a mayoral committee where certain decisions were made and so forth. Well, in terms of the law, those decisions are standing until they are challenged in a court of law. So we'll be checking as the ANC as to what are those decisions that might have been taken at that particular mayoral committee. If they are that serious, we'll have to obviously contact the courts to rescind those decisions that they would have been taken.
Yes.
And then insofar as the Speaker is concerned, you want the Speaker to convene a meeting so that you can elect a mayor as soon as possible?
Well, it's very important because the mayor plays a very key or critical role. Remember, we are now in February, approaching March, and a budget report must be presented in council. I mean, an adjustment budget. So the mayor has that responsibility of coordinating that particular role and present the report, because outside the adjusted budget, it means council will not be able to discharge its responsibility.
All right, so 7 days legally left. Cilliers Brink seems to have the multi-party coalition's support, but as you said, 7 days is a long time in politics. And also, very quickly, the Premier Panyaza Lesufi, in his State of the Province speech last night, said he's really concerned about Tshwane.
Well, Cilliers Brink has quite a good profile. I mean, he's a former MMC for Group Corporate Shares Affairs as well. So they think he's quite the perfect person for that position as well. But, you know, the Premier in his SOPA address yesterday, Panyaza Lesufi, saying the municipalities in Gauteng are in trouble. Emfuleni, Ekurhuleni, City of Johannesburg, City of Tshwane, you name them. Service delivery issues are still quite a problem, and therefore saying they need to act with urgency to try and rehabilitate the city of Tshwane.
Absolutely crucial. Thank you so much for breaking that down, what is a very complicated situation. I've now got it. I know what's happening in Pretoria for now. Thank you very much, our reporter Pule Letshwiti-Jones.